Good evening. My name is Alton Toth, and as the District of Sechelt Director for the Sunshine Coast Regional District, I will be chairing this public hearing tonight. I would like to introduce SCRD Director Mark Hiltz, who is in attendance as alternate chair to hear your comments. SCRD Senior Planner Yuli Howe will introduce and state the intended purpose of the bylaws and may answer technical questions you may have concerning the bylaws. All written submissions received by 12 noon on March 29th, 2022 will be entered into the formal record of the public hearing and be made available for public inspection. SCRD Recording Secretary Rui Tong will be recording your comments this evening. I'd also like to acknowledge our Manager of Planning, Jonathan Jackson, Planner Nick Copes, and our IT support tonight by way of Bryce, who's working behind the scenes. I would also like to acknowledge that this public hearing is taking place on the territory of the Squamish and Sechelt First Nations. This public hearing is convened pursuant to Section 465 of the Local Government Act to allow the public to make representations to the board respecting matters contained in the proposed West Howe Sound Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 640.5 and Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 310.194. A public hearing is one of many steps required by BC law for local governments to review applications for land use changes. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide an opportunity to be heard for each person who feels that their interest in property is affected by the proposed change. By BC law, this part of the process is scripted and involves one-way communication from residents to the hearing. Public hearings do not include dialogue or debate. They are a venue to systematically hear each resident speak. The public hearing for the bylaw amendments was advertised in the March 18th and March 25th, 2022 editions of the Coast Reporter newspaper. A copy of the ads is available for inspection in the public hearing information binder. In accordance with Section 465 of the Local Government Act, a public hearing may be conducted by means of electronic or other communication facilities. This public hearing is being held by the Zoom platform, by computer, electronic device, or by telephone. The live stream of this meeting can also be reviewed on YouTube. The following measures are taken to ensure openness, transparency, accessibility, and accountability in respect of the meeting. 1. Notice of the public hearing and instructions on how to attend the meeting electronically are advertised in the newspaper and on the SCRD website. 2. The electronic meeting allows the public to speak, hear, and watch the public hearing. 3. Technical support is provided to ensure all technical issues are resolved to enable meeting accessibility and communication of related information. At this public hearing, any person present who believes their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaws will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaws. No one will be discouraged or prevented from making their views known. If you wish to speak during the virtual public hearing, please use the raise hand function in Zoom to indicate that you wish to speak. If you've joined via telephone, press *9 to raise your hand. When it's your turn to speak, I will use the phone number to identify you. Please listen for your phone number. The live speakers list appears on the Zoom screen with the next 3 speakers. Watch for your name. Your hand will be lowered once you've been added to the speakers list. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes and permitted only to speak about the matters contained in the proposed bylaw amendments. If more time is needed than 3 minutes, another opportunity to speak will be offered after everyone has had their first opportunity. Be patient. There may be several speakers, but you will get an opportunity to speak. The identity of persons who make written or verbal submissions will form part of the public record. When speaking, please begin your remarks by clearly stating your first and last name for the record. Participants are required to express their opinions in a respectful and courteous way to other participants and to the community at large. Please be mindful that this is a public meeting and all verbal and written submissions will form part of the public record. The chair or alternate chair may ask questions after everyone who wishes to speak has had the opportunity to make representations. However, the function of the elected officials at this public hearing is to listen rather than to debate the proposed bylaws or to have dialogue with the public. When I call on you to speak by name or by telephone number, you'll be allowed to address the meeting. Zoom may appear to pause for a minute. You'll need to unmute your microphone to speak. In the Zoom app, the mute-unmute function is selected from the lower part of the screen. On a telephone, the microphone can be muted or unmuted by pressing *6 but is not to be unmuted until direction is given to do so. When the staff moderator allows you to speak, the Zoom app often appears to disconnect. This is only momentary, and you do not need to log out. Please begin by stating your full name for the record. If you do not, I will ask you to provide this information. Once everyone has had an opportunity to address the hearing, and if you wish to speak again, please select the raise hand button and the speakers list process will be repeated. After this public hearing has concluded, the board, during a following open public meeting, may, without further notice or hearing, adopt or defeat the bylaws, or alter and then adopt the bylaws in accordance with provisions of the Local Government Act. May I remind you that tonight is your final opportunity for input on the bylaws, and no further information can be received for consideration once the public hearing has concluded. Elected officials are not permitted to receive any communication or correspondence such as email, phone calls, or written submissions by email, mail, or fax after the advertised deadline that occurred at noon today. I will now ask SCRD Senior Planner Yuli Sayao to introduce and state the purpose of the proposed bylaws.
Thank you, Chair. Can you see my screen?
We can see your screen.
Great. Okay, so these this property for this application is are two adjoining parcels located at 2061 Twin Creek Road and 2170 Port Melon Highway. So two adjoining parcels, part 1 and part 2, and they are both in West Howe Sound. And the size of part 1 is 20 acres, part 2 is 16 acres. And part 1 is currently designated as rural residential B in the OCP, and part 2 is designated as RV Park. And both parcels are zone RU2 currently. The proposal is for part 1 to be developed as a mobile home park, which will have 37 manufactured homes and outdoor green space and parking area for each dwelling. And for part 2 will be a redevelopment of existing commercial buildings on the RV park property for an expanded commercial uses, including restaurant, golf course, clubhouse, convenience store, billiard rooms, and a gym. And here is a development concept plan. As you can see, the part 1 and part 2 next to each other. So, so part 1 is for mobile home park, and part 2 is the existing Langdale Heights RV park for more commercial uses. And the application process, the preliminary public consultation was conducted in November and December 2021, along with agency referrals. First and second readings were done in February 2022, and today is the public hearing. And after the public hearing, a public hearing report will be provided to the board for consideration of third reading and adoption of the bylaw. And here are the proposed amendments. And for part 1 is to change the OCP designation from rural residential B to mobile home park. And for zoning is to rezone the property from RU2 to RM3, and which will permit 37 manufactured homes. For part 2, there will be no OCP amendments, and there are only zoning changes. Is to rezone RU2 to C3 with site-specific provisions. The permitted uses will include campground with a maximum of 10 sites per hectare, washroom and laundry facilities accessory to the campground, restaurant and pub, convenience stores and retail with a maximum floor area of 100 square meters, golf course and clubhouse, billiard room and gymnasium. The partial coverage of all buildings and structures except the recreational vehicles and tents will not be allowed to exceed 20% of the site. And with that, I conclude my introduction, and back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Seau. And I will now call a first time for submissions. If you wish to address the public hearing, please raise your hand and you will be added to the speakers list. I see that we have Aleria Ladwig up first.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, great. Hi, my name's Aleria Ladwig. My husband and I own Lot A in the Elephantstone Crossing Estates, which is just across the street and just slightly down from this development. I just wanted to express our support for this project for a number of reasons. I think the Sunshine Coast needs more housing like this because of our housing crisis and the cost of living here. So I support it from that perspective. And I also think that the Area F could really use a kind of central community hub. And I think what they're proposing with their restaurant and the corner store and whatnot is a really great way of kind of starting to focus that. So just wanted to express my support for this project. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we have DT. I've given you permission to speak, but you will need to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you now.
Oh, good. I'm sorry. I apologize for my connection difficulty. I have several points. My name is Donald Townsend. I'm a resident of Langdale, but I represent, including myself, property owners in the Williamson's Landing area. This is immediately to the east of the proposal and across the road from Twin Creeks Road. I oppose the proposal to create space for 37 homes in the parcel. I have no problem with the rezoning of the golf course. And I'll be very brief as to what my concerns are. Over the last 50 years, I've walked the property numerous times. It's very difficult terrain. It will open on, according to the proposal, onto Twin Creeks Road, which is a logging road. And unless you're in a Jeep, you are not going to be able to access this property from Twin Creeks Road. And if you do, it's still going to be a very dangerous entry. The additional problem, I don't know what the experience of the developer is, but I do have some experience in this field. Not only does it have existing drainage and other problems, there's no sewage, no water, no transportation services whatsoever, and no access to water except through the Twin Creeks logging area, which is an industrial area, and I'm sure they're not going to be welcoming access, egress, ingress to that property to get to the water. I think that pretty well sums up my concerns, and I would like to see, but I've not been able to ascertain where I can find it, the actual plan where you can put 37 manufactured homes on this property. And the question that really I want to raise is this going to be an end run around the problem that we have with temporary housing, weekend housing? You can call it many euphoric names, but the truth of the matter is, who is going to own the 37?
Your time is up. I think you had a little bit of technical issue there, but
I said what I need to say. I'm on the
Okay.
record.
thank you. My understanding is that the layout map is available on the SCRD website and did form a part of this presentation here at the beginning. Okay, I will call a second time for, oh, my apologies, Director Hiltz.
Yes, thank you, Chair Toth. If I may ask the Donald there, just a question of clarification. He mentioned access to water, and was that question in response to potable water or the marine water? I was just wondering what you meant by access to water.
Again, Donald, you'll have to unmute yourself. Or not. Yeah. Okay. I guess, yeah, that's that. Yeah, so calling a second time for further submissions. Anybody who wishes to speak, please raise your hand in Zoom and you'll be added to the speakers list.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, hello, Donald.
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. I'm having great difficulty here, but I'll proceed to answer the question. It's a two-part question. One would be recreational access, and the other would be potable water. It's my understanding that there is no plan to provide water, a service of water via the SCRD, that it would have to come from the property.
Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. I believe it was in the information that it would be on a well. So that those comments are valid. Thank you very much.
Well, can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Yeah, the other question, which is access to recreational property, through recreational property to water. There has been over the years some attempt to obtain parking spaces in Howe Sound for people to get to water to Howe Sound. At this point, there is no reasonable access to this close to this proposed development, and I also still don't understand whether these are going to be rental properties, sold properties, owned by individuals. Either I'm not a little dense or I haven't read it correctly.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if staff are able to answer that question on whether these are going to be owner occupied or rented out.
Isn't that key?
Thank you, Donald. Yeah. I've asked staff if they're interested in commenting.
Thank you.
Well, Chair, I can provide an answer. Actually, this information was already provided in the staff report. According to the applicant, yeah, these dwellings will be for rental. In order to make the whole mobile home park look consistent, so the intent of the applicant is to provide those manufactured homes for people to buy, and then the pad will be for rental.
Okay, so the intention is that they will be owner occupied, paying a pad rental like a conventional mobile home park.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, we have Scott Davis. I will give you permission to speak. You will need to unmute yourself and then, yeah, just confirm your name for the record, please.
Hello, I'm Scott Davis. I'm a resident of Grandview Heights Road in Gibson's Area E. I'm also the designer for this project, so I just wanted to bring to that last person's attention that the access is off of Port Mellon Highway. The drawings show the access road through a portion of the existing Langdale Heights RV Park. So it does not come off of Twin Creeks. There's an existing residence over there, and that's the only thing on that side of the property. So I just wanted to bring that to their attention. It might change their mind about supporting this project. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for those comments. I will. Oops. All right. I don't see any other hands up. I will call a third and final time for submissions. Donald, I see your hand up. Staff are going to reset the timer. And I've given you permission to speak. You'll just need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Excellent. It's starting to work. Okay. This could be construed in my mind as an end run around the forthcoming or not legislation about rental of short-term property. I'm very concerned about that aspect of it because it's not at all clear from the answer that I've just heard as to whether or not the owners of or renters will be able to sublet. Perhaps that could be answered.
Okay. I will say that the SCRD is not considering any changes to the short-term rental bylaws that are currently in place at this time. I don't know if these units have restrictions on the ability to be rented for short-term or subletting purposes. I don't know if staff are prepared to answer that tonight, but I will check with them.
Yes, thanks, Chair. Yes, the zoning will specifically the zoning will only allow these manufactured homes to be used as permanent dwellings, not as short-term rentals. So it's very specific. So short-term rental will not be permitted. So it will be only used for long-term dwelling, either with a lease or just being occupied by the owner of the manufactured home.
Okay. Thank you, Yuli. Donald, does that answer that question sufficiently?
I think it answers the question, and it's the answer I expected to get. No disrespect, but it's not a very satisfactory answer. We know that rules are easily broken or circumvented. That has happened in the short-term rentals. And I would like to have a lot more clarification in your next report as to what the restrictions are or will be from the developer. And the final question, of course, is what is the developer's experience in working up a property with this very difficult terrain? And I might add that I got the information about entry onto the highway. I understood that. But the newspaper article indicated that there was or I surmised that it indicated there would be some exit or entrance on Twin Creeks Road. It begs the question as to whether or not there is sufficient emergency access or egress. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't know that staff would be in a position to answer questions about the proponent's previous experience with development. I do note that the proponent is here in the attendance of the public hearing today, so perhaps they wish to speak to that directly. However, generally, the purpose of the public hearing is to hear your concerns around the bylaws. I believe we hear your concerns around the bylaws. Like I said, if the proponent wishes to speak, they can raise their hand and I will unmute them. But otherwise, thank you, for your comments, and thank you for participating tonight.
You're welcome.
Okay. I will call a final time for submissions. If you wish to speak to the proposed bylaw amendments tonight, please raise your hand in Zoom and we will add you to the speakers list and unmute you and give you opportunity to speak. Just a reminder that further submissions cannot be received after the close of the public hearing tonight. So seeing no other hands up, with no further representations, comments, or written submissions, I now declare the public hearing closed for West Howe Sound Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 640.5 and Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 310.194. Thank you for your attendance and participation at this public hearing. And good night, everybody.